Okay, in this quick video, I'm going to show you how to find simple niche trend data using Google Trends. If you haven't used Google Trends before, it's an awesome tool provided by the source itself, by Google. So let's just jump right into it. So I'm going to use a keyword term that I'm familiar with because I'm in this niche actually, digital pianos. So I'm going to type in actually digital piano, the singular, and then hit enter. And there's a few things to keep in mind here. So first of all, this is where Google is going to show you the search term that you just typed in. You can also compare a couple of terms if you want to do that. I find that if you compare terms that have radically different search volume, it kind of screws up the graph a little bit because you'll have one trend line way up here and then one down there, so it's kind of hard to compare. I typically do one term at a time. So a few things to look at down here. First of all, change this. I want this to be United States because that's the biggest market and that's where I'm concerned with my customers coming from, basically. Google Trends defaults to the past 12 months. That's okay if you're just looking for, obviously, the annual trend for the term that you're looking at. But I always go start way back to 2004. Not all terms have data going all the way back. And as I mentioned, you have to use a term that has a decent amount of search volume. If you put in a long tail search term that doesn't have much search volume, Google's not going to show you any trend data because it's going to be too small a search volume for it to show you anything. These are the categories. So these are kind of like industry specific categories. And as I said, if you have a term that has multiple different meanings, so for example, the term nails. Nails are the things that grow on the ends of your fingertips. Nails are also something that you can hammer into wood. So if you have a kind of ambiguous term like that, you should then specify which category. But otherwise, if it's a term that speaks for itself, that's quite obvious, just leave all categories here. And then this is the channel that you can choose. So I'm leaving web search here, but if you're interested in, for example, the trends in search volume on YouTube, for example, if you want to use that for your content marketing, you can choose that. But I'm going to leave it at web search because we're interested in seeing search trends for Google search. So this is a very straightforward line. You can see that the data is from 2004, and you can see that it's gently been trending down up to around 2013. All right, so now, if you just left it at this, if you only looked at the 2004 to present trend line, you might think, oh, that's a dying niche. It's trending down. But what I recommend you do is then you take a look at a second time frame, the past 5 years, because you'll see something different here. Now, what we see over the past 5 years is that the search volume, or the relative search volume, has actually stabilized. You can see that it's very stable. It's the trend line is around the 50 mark here. And there's some definite, obvious, predictable peaks at one time during the year. In this case, with digital pianos, it's around November, December. And I know this from my own experience that interest in digital pianos starts to ramp up in October, November, really November. And then November, December, there's a lot of buying because people buy digital pianos presumably for their kids for Christmas. And then that's it. And then it drops off in January and it's back to around the same level until, again, next November, it really ramps up. So if you choose to get into this niche, digital pianos or piano keyboards, you've got to assume or expect that most of your money is going to be made in those 2 months of the year, actually, November and December. So anyway, that's basically it. You can also take a look, like I said, over the 12 months. So that the term or the time frames that I would recommend you look at are, again, 2004 to present, past, we're already on that, past 5 years, and then past 12 months, just to see in 1 year, sort of the annual cycle. And like I said, for digital pianos, it's very stable for most of the year. Then this comes to November. You can see it peaks in November. It's pretty high November until around the middle of December. And then, parents have bought their digital pianos for their kids, and then it drops off and it goes back to the typical range for the rest of the year. So that's it. I hope this was useful.